Cain's wife. Who was she?
In the Bible, in the New Testament, Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 45, that Adam was the first man. Now, in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, in chapter 3 and verse 20, we read that Eve was to be the mother of all the living. So according to the Bible, all human beings alive today, all human beings that have ever lived, are descendants of one man and one woman, Adam and Eve. There is only one race of human beings. Skeptics of the Bible often ask, if God made Adam and Eve, and they had three sons, Cain, Abel and Seth, as recorded in Genesis, then where did Cain get his wife? Well, Genesis chapter 5 verse 4 records that Adam had other sons and daughters. In fact, Jewish tradition is they had over 50 children. That means originally brothers would have had to have married sisters. Now people say, wait a minute, brothers aren't allowed to marry sisters. Even the Bible says that. Well, Abraham was married to his half-sister, and that wasn't a problem. Actually, it wasn't until the time of Moses that God said in Leviticus, no longer can close relatives marry. So why is it that close relatives could marry originally, but close relatives shouldn't marry today? When Adam was created, his genes were perfect. Eve's genes were perfect. But Adam sinned. And as a result of sin, God no longer holds everything together perfectly. So now everything runs down. The further away in relationship you are from each other, the more likely it is that you have different mistakes. And so when you get married and have children, you get a good gene from one partner with a bad gene from the other, and the good gene tends to mask the bad gene so it doesn't show up in the next generation to a great extent in the sense of a deformity or some major problem. But the further back you go in history, the less of a problem that is. You see, originally, Adam and Eve had no mistakes. Their children would have had relatively few. So provided it was one man for one woman, which is what the doctrine of marriage is all about, there was no problem with close relatives marrying originally. So you see, it's easy to understand, where did Cain get his wife? Cain's wife was one of his relatives, a close relative at that time, but one of his relatives, just as we marry our relative today.